it has this bold genre fusion and like cultural renaissance that made it one of the most talked about films of the year. So it's messy, it's loud, it doesn't apologize for the direction that it's taken you. And he is a bona fide superstar now as far as his talent level and what he can bring to a film. It's what you'd consider like the elevated blockbuster. It was more my cup of tea. I love these type of movies, and grasps greatness by the horns, and he does it so brilliantly. And I celebrate this movie, and I do look forward to seeing this one again. Here we are again. It is the Oscar season all over again. And just like previous years, I'm going to give you my ranked films that were nominated for Best Picture from worst to best. If you are one of those people that fancies fiction film, tall tales, and high adventure, here we are. You're in the right place. Thanks for coming back. If you're one of the people that already subscribe, if you would, click the like, click subscribe. You'll see me again, of course. If you want to zoom out and look at the lineup of films this year and compare it to the last 5 years, the last 10 years, this year is way more exciting than previous years. And I would say there's more Hollywood flash. There's a greater mix of public-friendly genres. And you can also sprinkle in the fact that they have a lot more tonally experimental films than they have in the past. And me personally, I think there's probably about six of them that I really loved. In compared to previous years where there was 2 to 5, and this is a lot. So I'm excited to talk about a lot of these. Historically, the Academy has leaned towards the prestigious biopics or these historical epics or the traditional character arcs. And this year you've got horror again, which is really great. I like seeing them going in that direction. But you've also got that kinetic sports spectacle, or you got the gothic fantasy, and some surreal satire. And this is a great movement. And is the industry changing its tastes? It looks like it. Kind of. The Academy seems to be increasingly more comfortable rewarding stylized films and genre-adjacent films and internationally inflected storytelling. Films that were once kind of sidelined because they were too weird or too niche. Here they are, and I'm embracing it. I like it. So we've got an Oscar season that feels less rigid and less classical, I should say, and more aesthetically adventurous than it has been in the past. So let's get right into it, starting from the worst film. I didn't exactly love this film. It was good, but that's number 10, Sentimental Value, which was directed by Joachim Trier, and it stars Stellan Skarsgård. This was probably nominated. It's what you'd consider maybe a European art house type film, and it's got mature performances in it, and it's got that sensibility that strongly appeals to the Academy voters. And it has in the past, for these introspective character dramas. And it follows this famed Norwegian film director whose ex-wife dies. And so he wants to go and film this script. He has the script that he wrote, and he wants to film it in his old house that he raised his children with, or, didn't raise his children in, so to speak. He's got these 2 estranged daughters. One of them, he wants to act in it. I'm not going to hash the whole thing out, but it was, one of the daughters who's in it was actually nominated for Best Actress. It's also been nominated for Best Director and Best Original Screenplay. So, it's got some accolades across the board. For me, I found it to just be, I want to say, not warm. It just, there was a cold soul to it. I certainly wasn't entertained. I wasn't involved in it emotionally. So that's why it fell at number 10. Number 9 is Bugonia, which is directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. And it stars Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. So here's the thing. In the previous videos I've done for Oscar films, Yorgos' films get nominated almost every year. The good news is this is his best movie I've seen so far. The bad news is I haven't liked any of them at all. Poor Things last year was it was impressive. You know, I was impressed by it, but I wasn't entertained, and I don't want to watch it again. And that's how I feel about this one. And this one's a little different in that, like, I kind of liked it as it was going along. I don't like and I don't want to give away anything for that matter, but I'm not buying a lot of the stuff that's happening near the ending. One thing it really has going for it is Emma Stone. I can't think of a movie where she's in it and I'm like, I don't like her in this movie. You know, I like her in every single thing she's in. She's just fantastic. She's so likable. She's got one of those personalities that's so accessible. So I think that's a leg up that Yorgos has every time he directs a movie because she's in it. Number 8 is Train Dreams, which you can see on Netflix, and it's directed by Clint Bentley. He has not been nominated for anything in the past, so this is his first Oscar nomination for Best Picture. And it also stars Joel Edgerton. Here's the thing. I did like this movie. It feels slighted to put it at 8. The only thing is it's a very beautiful movie. The music is nice. Its pacing is a little, it's appropriate for what they were going for. So, that's not fair, but slow paced. I don't want to say it's boring. It's just sad. And I don't know, I'm probably giving too much away by saying that it's sad. But it was also nominated for Best Cinematography, and I get it. It's really beautifully shot. The photography of it is fantastic. Best Adapted Screenplay as well. And it felt less like a story and more like an extended mood exercise, unfortunately. But the characters in it I do like, and you do become emotionally attached to people that are introduced or exit the film as it goes along. So, if these type of films, and of course, if you want to see all the Oscar films, it's accessible because it's on Netflix. So I recommend seeing it for that. But, if you are one that's like, I don't have to see all of these and I get bored very easily, save yourself. Number 7 is Secret Agent. This is the last of the films I saw of the Best Picture nominees, and that's only because it became available streaming last of all of them, so that's when I did get the chance. I didn't get to see it in the theater. It's directed by Cleibor Mendoza Filho. Don't let my mispronunciation of his name deter you from what you think that I think of this movie. I did like this movie. It was mysterious in a lot of ways. Excellently shot. Like, the shots are fantastic. The editing is superb. I loved the music. The music in it had this really nice beat to it that as you went along, you really felt the tension of things, but sometimes in a good way. It was nominated because it's got this political urgency. It's got international acclaim. Is restrained craftsmanship that was elevated into like a very serious awards contention type film. It was also nominated for Best Actor. It was nominated for Best International Feature, and it was nominated for Best Screenplay. It's set in like the 70s during the repressive dictatorship in Brazil. I didn't fully follow the politics of it, but that was okay. It didn't really matter that much. It was more about his drive to try to set up a life for his son and what he had to do to get the two of them out of the country. And, it just follows that whole process along. Meanwhile, he's also being like targeted. So it's got some really interesting scenes. I looked at it and didn't really have that much interest in it. But by the time I saw it, I was like, oh, this is actually kind of interesting. So if you're on the fence about it, you might actually enjoy it. This is a pretty good movie. Number 6 is Frankenstein by Guillermo del Toro. And he has been nominated in the past, of course, for The Shape of Water, which he won. It stars Jacob Elordi and Oscar Isaac and Mia Goth and Christoph Waltz. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous movie. Like, just as a piece of art, it probably is the most beautiful piece of photography that I saw all year. I did a whole separate video on it. So, I did my full review because I'm a huge fan of the Frankenstein movies. So it is on that list. It is the Gothic retelling of Mary Shelley's novel, and it emphasizes grief and responsibility and the horror of abandonment. And this creature is portrayed in a tragic way that is way more accurate to the source material than one of, if not none of the other films, the other 40, 50 films that are about Frankenstein. So do I recommend it? Sure. Yeah, it's on Netflix. You can check it out. It was also nominated for Best Production Design. It was nominated for Best Costume Design. It was also nominated for Best Visual Effects. But I don't want to go too much into it because I already did a whole nother video on it. So go check that out. But it is number 6. Number 5 is F1, directed by Joseph Kosinski. And he was nominated in the past because he did direct Top Gun Maverick. And it stars Brad Pitt, of course. This is one of those films where I'd already seen it. And when it was nominated, I was kind of surprised. It didn't seem like the type of caliber film that would show up because it's pretty like fun but dramatic, and it's action packed, of course, because it's car racing, Formula One. Again, I have to assume it won because of its technical mastery. It's what you'd consider like the elevated blockbuster, and I don't know. I'm actually surprised it was nominated, but it was more my cup of tea. I love these type of movies, and I was very impressed. So like when I got done seeing it, and it's your traditional, just like Days of Thunder type racing movie. I don't need to explain too much of it as far as that goes, but at the end of the day, when I was done watching it, I was like, that was a good movie. Number 4 is Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler, and he has been nominated in the past for Black Panther. And it stars Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, and Tessa Thompson. I am not a big fan of the vampire movies. I mean, yeah, there's so many great vampire movies that it's not fair for me to say I'm not a fan of vampire movies, but initially, like, I'm never enthusiastic about a vampire movie until I find out that it's a great movie. This is a great movie, and I was very, very surprised, happily surprised, of course. And, it's set during kind of like the Jim Crow South time, and it blends like folklore and horror and social history to tell the story of like the power and like the social politics of a small town or, the small South. And there's resistance to, all kinds of different aspects of it, the identity of all these characters. But then all of a sudden there's this supernatural element that intertwines with this real life story that's going on. And it's this texture, this kind of this ambiance of like the Deep South that is painted. It's painted with really elegant brushstrokes, I should say. Why did this get nominated for Best Picture? This is another one just like F1 where I'm very surprised it got nominated. But going into it, it had gotten so much attention that it was expected to get nominated. But even still, it has this bold genre fusion and like cultural renaissance that made it one of the most talked about films of the year. So thus that kind of translates to the Academy attention that it gets. And naturally, Ryan Coogler already has the attention of the Academy. So he's got 2 legs in the door now. It was also nominated for Best Director. It was nominated for Best Actress. It was nominated for Best Score. And it was nominated for Best Cinematography. Now, my biggest takeaway from it was this is a musical masterpiece as far as how they integrated the old blues Southern music with a modern feel to it and integrated it into the story. And it's almost like the music binded everything together to make it all seem like one cohesive piece of art. And I've never seen anything done like it before. I was mesmerized by that. And it's actually the reason I'm going to go back and watch this again is because I thought musically it was so well crafted. And of course, I don't want to go too much into the plot of these. Now that we're in our top 4, I probably should dial it down a bit as far as that goes, because I encourage you to see all of these top 4, top 6, maybe even top 7. Number 3 is Marty Supreme, which was directed by Josh Safdie, and it stars Timothée Chalamet. In previous years, I talked about Timothée Chalamet's contribution to the films that he's in, and he is a bona fide superstar now as far as his talent level and what he can bring to a film. That's no different here. Josh Safdie has not been nominated for any films in the past, but if any of you have seen Uncut Gems, his films all have that chaotic, linear storytelling that is, it's unsettling, but it also is contagious. And this is the same, only bigger and better. And not to say this movie is better than Uncut Gems, but it's just more, it has a better ending, of course, and it's bigger as far as its spectacle goes. I was blown away by it. I wasn't actually expecting it to love it. I was expecting to like it. It was also nominated for Best Actor. It was nominated for Best Editing, and it was nominated for Best Original Screenplay. And like I said, the movie, it's exhausting, but in a good way. And that's kind of the point that I'm sure that's what Josh is going for a lot of times. The film throws you in this direction and then throws you in that direction. And it's like got this pragmatic, manic, worldwide like view, and it refuses to slow down. And just when you think they've almost settled one thing, they're on to this next dilemma that they've got to deal with, and they've got to clean up this mess. And you don't have sympathy for how they got into this mess, but you're rooting for them to get out of it each time they get into it. And Chalamet is eclectic, and he's anchoring this chaos with vulnerability, but he's got a cockiness, man, that really is almost like the horse pulling this stagecoach out of control, but in a way that like that's one hell of a steed. It's messy, it's loud, it doesn't apologize for the direction that it's taken you. And these characters, especially the lead character, Marty Supreme, they're disguised in a sports movie. So this is a sports movie, but then there's this good hour and a half in the middle of it where you're like, I thought this was a sports movie, but it just goes away. And then all of a sudden it kind of brings it back. And then it has one of these excellent sports endings that like you didn't see coming, and like he takes advantage of a situation and makes it better, and grasps greatness by the horns, and he does it so brilliantly. And I celebrate this movie, and I do look forward to seeing this one again. Number 2 for me is Hamnet, which was directed by Chloe Zhao. She, of course, had directed the movie that won Best Picture, Nomadland. I was not a huge fan of Nomadland. I saw it and I was like, this is excellent, and I'm bored, and I'm never going to see that film again. She went on to direct The Eternals. That was one that was panned poorly by critics and fans. Actually, the critics liked it, the fans didn't. I tended to like it because I thought it was very smart. And that's when I started to recognize her and her directing skills. I mean, Nomadland, I was like, yeah, she's an excellent director, of course. It's also nominated for Best Actress. It's nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, and it's nominated for Best Cinematography. Jessie Buckley, who plays the wife to William Shakespeare, who's played by Paul Mescal, she is phenomenal in it, and you are really thrown for an emotional loop. And that's something I would differentiate between like Train Dreams and this, or any of the other like truly sad movies. Is like, it's one thing for a movie to be sad, but it's another for it to have emotions for you to experience. But then it takes you to a better place, and that's what this movie does. It is very upsetting at times, and then it brings you out of it. I was expecting, for when the movie started, I was expecting it to be a bit Shakespearean in its language. And I love that because I think, the language of Shakespeare is beautiful, but sometimes I don't understand it. Sometimes I just kind of have to let go and consider it almost like music, as much as I love it. And I've loved some of the Shakespeare adaptations in the past, especially Romeo and Juliet from the 70s. That's one of my favorite films that was nominated for Best Picture. But this does not quite, it's got the language, it's got the Old English, but it's very digestible until you see this play of Hamlet that comes in. And I hope I'm not ruining it for anybody. A bit of a spoiler. It gets to the play of Hamlet, and you get to experience it the way the first people that ever saw William Shakespeare's play experiencing it. And that is something I was not prepared for in a good way. I was blown away by what it would have been like to experience William Shakespeare's play. And it was so interactive. And, you know, all the people that are in the audience, they have like their arms and their hands and parts of their body halfway on the stage. And the actors on stage are interacting with these audience goers. I mean, really an impressive experience. And even though, like, you know, as I'm watching the films, you know, because I know I'm making this video, I'm already grading it in my head as I go along. And I'm like, yeah, this one's okay. It'll be in the middle somewhere. The whole last third, boom, puts it right into second place. And I really think this is a very impressive movie. It could win Best Picture. It might not. I think any of these four could win. But this one was really something special. It does fall in line more with a lot of the previous films that have won Best Picture back in the past. And I do feel like there is a shift in the Academy and the way they're voting. So that might hurt it. But, you know, it's emotionally subtle. It's literary elegance that resonates strongly for me, and I was very excited about it. And it's a movie that I look forward to seeing again and again, because it's probably going to show up on my to-do list of, hey, I haven't seen that film in a year or two. Let's watch it again. This is one of those. And number one, and this is for me, this is what I felt was the best of the movies. And I guess you'd have to call it my favorite out of the 10 that were nominated. And that would be One Battle After Another, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. And he has, yes, been nominated for Oscar for Best Picture multiple times. It's starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Regina Hall, Sean Penn, Teyana Taylor, Benicio del Toro. And its other nominations are Best Director, Best Actor, and Best Screenplay. It follows a former, I guess, revolutionary, multiple sanctions of revolutionaries that are kind of going through the different times in their lives. The excitement that you feel throughout this movie is very well channeled and intentionally. I guarantee you, Paul Thomas Anderson has had a lot of practice at getting your attention and your stress and anticipation for things to go his way. And this is a 101 class on how to do that. It's done so well that I don't think I picked up on the tricks as I watched the movie the first time. So when I go back and watch it again, I'll have that space to be able to do that. It's messy, it's expansive, and it's very human. You feel these characters, and even though they make a lot of bad decisions, you get it. You could see yourself in this place, although you probably wouldn't have put yourself in the starting point for them. You do get some of the decisions they've made as they go along, and it thrives because it does have characters that are very contradictory, even the ones that are close together. It's got a lot of principle that both flawed and questionable, and it doesn't simplify it. These things aren't. It's very complicated in the way that you have to digest some of the information that's going on as far as emotions. In this, there is this level of strength that channels to you as an audience goer. So you gain strength and you gain weakness through different tricks that are done throughout the way the movie is edited and filmed. And it's done. The pacing is done in a way that allows it to breathe, but it's not poorly paced at all. I would say that it's dense. So it's rewarding the way it's presented to you. Here's the thing about Paul Thomas Anderson. I have not completely loved one of his movies since Boogie Nights, and I know that's a crime to say that. There Will Be Blood, but I'm not a massive fan of that. I probably should go back and watch it again. This seems to be the best of all of his great stuff that I like condensed into one, because it does have almost better storytelling than, say, Boogie Nights would have had. But then it also has the Oscar pedigree of some of the films that have been nominated for Best Picture. So there you have it. I would say, the top 4 there, one of those I expect to be the film that wins Best Picture. The Hollywood elites, the selection for this award is always, it's becoming more and more less predictable. So, I'm rooting for any one of these 4. However, gun to my head, if I were to guess, I'd say One Battle After Another or Hamnet, one of those 2 in that order. Last year's Anora, which won, that kind of showed you that they're ready for a film like Marty Supreme. It's possible they might open up to the idea of a movie like Sinners. I'd be happy with that. Either way, one of these films, it's great. I want to thank you for watching my film all the way to the end. If you would, click the like, click subscribe. You'll see me again. And I hope you enjoyed the films of this Oscar season. Thanks.